Any discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 5 ayes. Public comment. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each person wishing to comment. If you exceed that 3-minute limit without permission, the meeting controller will mute you. Is there anyone on who wishes to make a public comment? If so, let me know or let us know somehow. We'll wait a minute to make sure that people have had a chance to log on and unmute themselves. Looks like we have AV Tech on.
Oh, good.
Hey, Craig, how are you? All right. So I don't see that we have any public comment. We'll go ahead and move to the next.
Oh, we've got a hand up.
Okay. Jim Hook.
Sorry, I was just barely able to get in. Sorry, I missed that. I have a comment.
All right.
Yesterday morning, Monday, many of my neighbors were concerned because there was a yellow airplane buzzing their houses and spraying poison all over the town and killing and destroying. And let me go back a little bit. The river bottom below Recapture Lodge, there's about 150 acres down there, has been my restoration passion for almost 35 years now. I've planted things, I've killed things, I've had things wash away that were successful, and it's just been a real passion of my life. It's what keeps me in Bluff more than running a motel. For the last 3 or 4 years, I've been working with state lands on a grant request for fire mitigation and riparian restoration. And I've tried to keep the town up on that. Anybody that's interested, I've talked about it all the time. And yesterday was probably the highlight of my 30 years. £600 of seed were spread across that 150 acres. The reason I've agreed to go along with the state on this project is because after 35 years, I realize I don't have another 35 years to keep working on it myself, even though I love every minute that I'm down there. When the masticators come, you'll see a lot of destruction and there'll probably be noise. I hope it doesn't wake anyone up. The guy will be here probably for a week or 10 days working that. It's more of an on-ground kind of thing. But that seed, that's what will make the river bottom better in the next 30 years. I can't plant enough stuff. I can't do enough. That is miraculous. And I was so happy to see it come down from that plane. The contractor that the state approved was called Hammond Helicopters. And so I assumed they would come with a helicopter. As it turned out, they're a crop duster and a bunch of other businesses. And one of their specialties is planting burn firefight or forest fire burn sites, trying to restore those. And they can do, he was here 20 minutes and he planted 150 acres with 600 pounds of seed. I could never do that. The guy took off from Salt Lake in the morning, flew to Blanding with his plane. The state forest guys loaded up the seed, and then they rushed down here. And the time schedule for pilots and that kind of thing is unknown. And so they showed up ready to go. And I was surprised myself to see that beautiful little yellow plane show up instead of a helicopter. But in 20 minutes, he planted the whole river bottom. He realized that your borderlands between Bluff and the river are private property. You've zoned them as agricultural. This is an agricultural process. No chemicals were sprayed. You may get some Indian rice grass in your yard you hadn't planned on, but
3
to me,
minutes.
it's a wonderful thing. And I'm sorry it offended some people. And with that, I'll move on and got the airport mode today. Thank you. Please don't tell me thank you for everything. I'm tired of hearing that. So bye-bye.
Jim Sayers has a public comment.
Yeah, I thought it would be appropriate for me to speak. I think what's going on down the river is great. Great. It's wonderful. I know how long you've worked on that. I had an issue with the pilot who was flying well below FAA regulations over a populated area. He or she was very, very low and very dangerous. And, I'm just into safety. I of course do not like to see my house buzzed with no warning, which is what I thought was going on. But that was below FAA regulated minimum of it. You could say that it's 500 feet, I would say it's 1,000. It would have been easy for him to peel off over the mesas on either side and get his altitude. So that that bothers me a little bit, but that's it. Thank you.
Any other public comment? So I learned a lesson, which was I should read my emails more carefully, because had I realized this did not go to the town, I probably would have sent it on to Lois Young to have her publish it to the town. So Jim Hook, although I know you don't want to hear it again, thank you for doing this. The river bottoms are going to be perfect in 35 years, and I'm hoping you're still here to be working on them. But next time I get an email that's kind of a bigger event, I will read it more carefully. I just assumed everyone had gotten it. All right, then we can move to number 1 if there's no other public comment. So in the last couple of weeks, the issue of agendas have come up from people like, I want to get this on the agenda, both from the public and then from the council. And I just want to remind everybody how we've done the agenda for 4 years. And this could be a topic of a future work session, but if the public has something that they would like, or someone would like to present, reach out to me before the close of the day on Thursday, before our Tuesday meeting, so that I can get it on the draft agenda that goes to the council. And I try to get the draft agenda out because I'm the one responsible at this point and have been for the agenda. I try to get the draft out to the council not later than the end of the day on Friday. That allows Linda time to format things, to get everything set up, make any changes that come in from the council no later than the end of the day on Saturday, so that it can be posted on Sunday. Legally, we don't have to post on Sunday. We can post on Monday by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5:55 to be exact. But we try to do it in that fashion so that we give the public or presenters the opportunity up until Thursday at the end of the day, the council until sometime on Saturday at the end, or Friday, and then or Saturday rather, and then we try to get it posted on Sunday. So we've got some wiggle room if we have to pull the current agenda and change it for some reason, something's come up. So if people could keep that in mind, it is really a strain for Linda and me over the weekend to try to figure out who's where and what we're going to do, what's already been posted and what hasn't been. In the future, now that we have a manager, I imagine that as things morph and more responsibility falls on Erin and her office duties, she's not here as a secretary, she's here as a manager. But as we move forward, I know Erin and I have talked about maybe realigning the agenda a little differently and doing some things. But we need to give Erin time to settle into a job that she's learning and for me to learn how to work with a manager. And right now it's just easiest for us to stay the course where Linda and I get that agenda posted and dealt with. Any thoughts or questions on that? So moving to number 2, we're going to need a work session. There are some things that we really can't wait to address. Now, we don't have a meeting scheduled until the 10th of January. Part of what we need to do kind of affects our January work and workload. So I'd like to set a 1-hour work session. If we don't have a solid agreement on it, then we're not going to do it, because I recognize it's the holidays. I recognize people have family and responsibilities, but I'd like to try to get something in for an hour. So any thoughts as to when you might be available, or that you really don't want to? And if there's one person who doesn't want to, that's fine. I'll drop it and just kind of realign my thinking.
Thursday, Friday, or Monday would be not bad for me. Any one of those days, I'm probably going to be around, and I will be around if there's a work meeting. So I'll be there.
Yeah, I've got
Usually in the morning is good.
January 5th would be a Thursday.
So let's back up. Jim, were you talking about this Thursday, Friday, or Monday?
No. I'm talking about, January 5th, the 5th, the 6th, or the 10th, or the 9th.
Okay.
In the morning, preferably. We get more done faster.
So Lou, go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off.
Yeah, I just said, but he said that the 5th is a Thursday, because our meeting is Tuesday, and it seems like it helps to spread them out a little bit, but the 9th or the 5th, I think, would probably be good days. Mondays seem to be always a little rough with the rest of things, so that's why I was looking at the 5th.
I'm just looking.
Maybe at 9 a.m.
The 6th might work too. That's Friday.
If the 6th would work, that would work for me, but I could try to make Thursday the 5th work. I'll be at my nephew's wedding, and kind of in transit. Would the 6th work for everybody?
That's fine with
Yeah.
me.
Should we do 6 at 9 then?
Does that work for you, Brant, Linda, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm good with that. No problem.
9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so make sure I get the right date. So that's Friday, January 6th at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Okay. I promise to hold it to an hour and to give you as much information ahead of time. But there are some things like the procurement policy and a couple things that Aaron's working on for the CDBG that I'd like to have cleared up in our minds before we end up posting an ad again, and then I have Aaron scrambling to cover my mistakes. So thank you. All right, so update on AmeriCorps, number 3. They left Bluff on Saturday morning, arrived in Sacramento Sunday night. Thursday night, we had their going away party at the community center. It was kind of a typical debacle on food. I ordered through KFC and they forgot the order. So when I went to pick it up in Cortez, it was a little delayed because they, of course, didn't have 4 buckets of 16 pieces of chicken at 4 in the afternoon done. But it worked out. The team spent the night here. They had a great time. When Linda and I left, they were shooting hoops and doing whatever. But they also were charged with something I wasn't aware of. They needed to make a video of the town or the project they were on. So the team showed us the video, and I'm going to have Aaron play it in a second. But the back story to this is the team all came over for dinner one night, and Linda and I did loaded baked potatoes, and Bill did a roast. But I had sauerkraut and cottage cheese on the table, and it turns out that the team leader's favorite food is sauerkraut. And she'd never put it on a baked potato, so she was excited, and the rest of the team was not particularly excited. But this is the video that they did. So let's see if we can get it up.
All right, let me know if you have any trouble hearing this. All right.
I guess I think overall I do have some pig-like tendencies. That's interesting. Whoa, whoa, look at that! Well, yeah, look at that pottery. No, the kraut. Oh. I can't
Stay with me, buddy.
open the mouth.
Guys, you see that over there?
What?
Let's take a gander at some wild kraut. No way.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Jeepers.
I've never seen one. Majestic. Wow. Nature's amazing.
Hey Sam, what do you bring with you when you hike in the beautiful trails of Bluff?
Man, whenever I'm hiking, I always gotta make sure I bring the sauerkraut.
Ah, I can't get out. I got you. Give me a boost.
Thanks, kraut.
Help! Oh my God!
What time is it? Where is the team? I don't understand where all of them are. We have to go to work. Is that them? What is going on here? Are you guys eating kraut without me? Eating kraut without me. How dare they?
Welcome. This is America and Triple C with Abby Grills. Today, we're hunting some wild sauerkraut. Look, tracks! This way. Oh boy, I think we're on to something. Shh. Look, right over there. That's some kraut.
Why, you want some kraut?
I'm good.
Kind of gives you a sense of their their personalities. They were just delightful to work with. And I hope we have a team next year. We'll put in an application again for some project. Then number 4, moving to that, the PTIF fund is set up, and we've got a recommendation from our accountant. Linda, do you want to do this?
Yes. I talked to Dave, our accountant. He suggested that we start with a transfer of 600,000. And I thought maybe 550,000 might be better, because we may need some funds for possible litigation, and it's just better not to have to move things back and forth very much. So that was his recommendation.
Get a motion to do that?
To do which amount, Grant?
The 550. I think we should transfer 550. I'll make a motion to do that.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so then the next question, Linda, is who does the transfer?
Yes, and I am willing to do the transfer. It's actually a simple bank transfer. We will get monthly statements. And so, anyway, I am willing.
Do we need to make a motion to authorize that, Mayor?
We do.
I'll make a motion that Linda be authorized to do that for us.
Second.
Any discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? All right,
I
ayes
would
have it.
like to say thank you for getting that figured out.
Yeah, thank you.
Taking basically the advice of the accountant. It's close enough. So thank you.
Yeah, and I had initially was concerned about separation of duties, but then Linda and Aaron and I kind of all talked separately, and there isn't a need to, because Linda's just moving the money within the internal accounts. So it's not a problem with her moving it. And it's better than that one person be handling it. So thanks, Linda, for agreeing to that. Then moving to number 5, Jim, is there any update here that you want to do on either the National Endowment for Arts grant or the DRC?
No, no update on the arts grant. I'll know more about that a little later on. The DRC met today very briefly. We have a possible 50,000 coming from USDA. I understand that our grant writers are ready to roll on that, so we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. We had a brief discussion about the Inflation Reduction Act, which may rain money down on in a lot of places, and we hope that we can capture some. We talked about the ACLOS, no update there. The ramp is going to be replaced over at the portable because it's falling apart, and actually a screw or something was loose and hooked somebody's shoe, and they didn't get injured, but it's a safety issue at this point. So the regular porch and the stairway is not going to go, but the ramp is going to be replaced. It shouldn't take too long. They're going to do it right away. If anybody can hear from James on propane levels over there, I assume that he'd let people know if it was going low. But Brand, if you swing by and can check the amount on that, if there's a gauge, I don't know.
I can't. There's a large bill this month to pay. Linda, is that for over there? Linda?
Let me check. If I don't have the right page. I'll check.
No, we'll check it later. But Jim, I'll follow.
Yeah, let's not forget about it. That's about it, Ann, Mayor.
So I saw James today. I dropped off a box of candy from the council, and he didn't mention the propane. So I imagine that we're fine. We talked for about 10 minutes, and we talked about a couple of other things that he's looking at, but I think we're probably good. But Bran, if you can just double check it. He's actually off for 10 days, but he said he can't not work for 10 days. So he'll be in and out of Bluff doing things at both buildings, his building and our building. So just let me know, Brand.
I'll check the propane.
Okay. Any questions for Jim on the DRC or grants? So what I heard from the people working on the grant for the up to $50,000 from USDA is that they're just about ready to push it off, and then we'll take a look at it and see, get it submitted, see if we get upwards to $50,000 from USDA.
We talked at the DRC about trying to get that fire suppression installed in 2023. That's kind of one of my goals. So I want to kind of just say that here now too.
Yeah, I would like to see that occur also.
Well, that would be great. Then next is update on the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. Lou?
Yeah, so mostly it's just a reminder that there is a committee and that Aaron has put the committee information on our website. So if you go to townofbluff.org, you can click on the committees, and that's one of them. There's actually 2 or 3 now. So there are, agendas there and information there if you're interested. The next meeting will be January 4th, Wednesday. We meet on Wednesdays. It'll be at 1 o'clock. And they're virtual. So if anybody's interested, you're welcome to come. Molly will present to the town council on January 10th meeting. And basically that will be the kickoff time for the February workshops will start in February. And the Bike Utah is the one that will be sponsoring those and coordinating those. And in the meantime, talk to the school, the elementary school, hoping that they can be involved. That's a good source of a lot of families and a lot of people. And let's see, I've also talked with the Navajo Yes, which is a group on the reservation that has had some great success with trails, and don't have any update on exactly what that was, but they've been updated on as to what we're trying to work on up here in Bluff. And the Bike Utah I've mentioned before, but they are a commission from the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity to help towns to build active transportation plans. So it's perfect. It would just fell into our laps that they could do this active transportation plan, and it'll start in February. So don't think that there's much else to update unless anybody has any questions. And Jim Sayers comes to the meetings. Aaron's been there. So if either of you have anything else to add, feel free.
No, that's good. Thank you.
I have been reading the minutes, and I assume Molly will talk about this when she presents to us, but she was talking, the minutes seem to talk about a bike ride and possible liability. So if anything that has possible liability, definitely needs to come to a town meeting.
Right, exactly. And that was an idea to get some interest to ride, do a little bike ride. But I think Aaron checked in with some things, and they basically don't want anybody to use the UDOT roads. So there you go. Since we don't have a trail, we don't have a bike ride unless something changes. So
Right.
can't really
One day,
make much of a bike ride from the community center around to Twin Rocks and do some loops. But anyway, that's still in the process. But no, of course, nothing's been decided. And if there's something that looks like it has some potential and some interest, then that's what we'll talk about in January and February. I also want to put something in the newspaper, so that'll be part of her.
thank you guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else?
I would just say let's make sure we coordinate between the council and the committee regarding when Molly will do her update. I know we might have a lot on that January 10th meeting, but I do think it's important that we hear from you all earlier in January, or, you know, since you're projecting those February workshops. So that would be the only thing I'd make sure that, you know, we just want to make sure that Molly is on the right meeting.
Right, and it's that'd be the first one in January, and like for getting things in the paper, there's some timelines and stuff. So that was why we were aiming at the 10th. Shouldn't take too long.
So, some of my notes got destroyed today in a with small children and scissors. And so my list, my carryover list that I keep on these cards became, I don't know what they became, shredded. So was Molly on my list for January 10th, or are you telling me now that she wants to be on it? Because I don't have my list.
But it should already be on there.
And if she's going to do any kind of a PowerPoint, will you have her coordinate that with me or with Aaron? Because we're kind of getting, I want to be able to limit the amount of time people present, or at least know how to factor it in and looking at how long the agenda goes. So if you just,
and it could be that it just needs to be in the work session. If, you know, that could be fine with just a summary at the meeting.
okay, we'll have her just check in on that. Linda?
I think, you know, important things like this, I think should be in our meetings because the public really tunes in to council meetings and want to be informed, and they're more likely to be informed if we have more important things like this information.
Well, I added her to the 10th, and she may very well have been on my shredded list. All right, then update on the AED and the fire extinguishers. Linda, what did you do on AED?
I got with the AED people, and I have the adult and pediatric cuffs or pads coming. I have resubscribed to the yearly care package or whatever it's called. Well, it's custom basically. So it's $99. I couldn't find where I had done it before, but then I finally figured out that Brant did it on his credit card. So that will be updated, and those two things are coming to us.
Good job.
So on the fire extinguishers, all of those have been checked or checked and filled, with the exception of one of the Fire Mesa kitchen ones, which I intended to take over the other day and I completely forgot. If anyone goes to Cortez and is so inclined, it's the fire extinguisher in the hallway of our office. And I'll mark it because I think there are two out there. One has been checked and has a current tag, and the other one needs to go to ABC in Cortez. And if I go, I'll grab it, hopefully. Remember to grab it. Then we'll be all up to date for a year, and then we should do that annually. Check the AED and check the fire extinguishers. Number 8, the IT services and update and upcoming changes. Erin?
Yeah, so this fall we talked about changing IT services. We ended up continuing on with NetForce, but there are certainly some things that are going to make our lives easier and, you know, be able to really optimize the use of the laptops that each of the council members have, as well as myself. So we are going to be transitioning to Microsoft 365, and that will allow us to utilize like a folder sharing system, which will be really helpful for, you know, being able to keep documents all in one place. It'll also be a more secure system than just having things float out there. But with that, we're also going to have our email addresses change over to this domain, so everything's in the same spot. So I've been working with NetForce to try to get this changed over. We had some hangups just with our domain anyway, and then I received notification that they were ready to go, but it was going to be taking place this week. And so Ann and I had a quick chat, and we thought it would be best to have a little bit more notice than that. So my hope is that we can get things changed over in early January. They did purchase the licenses, so we will see that bump. You all approved the contract, so the new rate will be in effect when everything gets implemented. But I don't know everyone's familiarity with Microsoft 365. I'm definitely willing to coach folks through it, and hopefully maybe be there in person to help you through it. NetForce has also said that they'll help with training and things like that. But the biggest thing is really figuring out exactly when this should take place. So they can do some additional groundwork before everything changes. So what they would do is they would reach out to each of you individually, get your login credentials, and they can move all the data that we currently have, or that you currently have in each of your government emails, or the Town of Bluff emails. They'll move all of that data over. You'll still have a copy in your current mailbox, so you can continue using that. And then when we're ready for the transition, then it's an easier switch, because 4 years worth of data in those in each of your emails is going to take up quite a bit of room and take some time for them to transfer. So what I'm working with Alyssa on is contact information for each of you. And then, she can start that migration process. It's, they know how important it is that we don't lose any data, but we can start that migration process, and then maybe we can have a quick discussion either during one of the early meetings in January as to that I want to call it a drop dead date, but the date that the systems would change over. So what you can expect to see is a new email interface, and then a new system on your computer, which will allow you to have access to all the apps that are really important. So Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all the things that we really need to make these useful computers. I know that's a lot, but what questions do you have? Do you have any additional concerns that I can coordinate with NetForce on to kind of make this change management process as easy as possible in January?
No questions. Keep going with it.
I know that I will have a boatload of questions when we get to actually doing it, which is why when Aaron was explaining this to me, I had an absolute panic attack of doing it over the holidays. So thank you, Aaron, for being flexible and changing that schedule so that you can do some one-on-one with all of us, because I imagine, at least I know I will need it. And I figure everybody else was probably going to have similar questions. So thank you.
Of course. And yeah, no, certainly the timing was a concern. I just, I wanted everyone to have access to their computers, and, we have a lot that we're wrapping up at the end of the year. So hopefully we can find a good date, not that things ever really slow down, but just a good date to transition over for everyone.
Linda, did you have a question?
I do, I have the office computer, which has Microsoft already. Is it going to be impacted? I mean,
no, it wouldn't have impacts right now. I think eventually, we want to talk about putting that asset on this same system. It's, a slight increase in cost, but it's definitely important that we get it on the same system. But right now, I just want to focus on these 6 laptops, and then that one should be a pretty easy changeover. But let's you and I coordinate regarding the subscription for that, because it sounds like there might be some additional data that would need to migrate to the new subscription of Microsoft that they're executing for us.
How do we access this? Can we only access it on our governmental computer?
So the Microsoft 365 subscription would only be accessible on the computer. And I think that is important because we are trying to protect the data that, it would be contained within the asset. For the email, I'm fairly confident that you will be able to access the email, which has additional protections, but the documents that we store would only be on your government computer, which is good because if we were to get some kind of request, that's why we want to be able to turn these over as opposed to our phones and private computers. But I am fairly confident that you should be able to log into email online. It wouldn't be the same application, but you would be able to access it online. So if you got caught in a bind, you should still be able to log in. I am confirming that with Alyssa, but everything that I've found, it should be a pretty straightforward process.
Great. Thanks.
All right, if there are no other questions, then we'll move to number 9. Just a quick update. I believe that the emergency medical services training for the 3 new EMTs has been completed. I think that the exams were yesterday, although there might be one person who still needs to take a couple follow-ups, but then they'll move to the fingerprinting, which I had some information that I need to check out, but I was told that San Juan County doesn't have the ability to do fingerprints, which I find odd. So I'm trying to follow that up. I don't think people should have to travel to Grand County to get fingerprinted. So I'm trying to follow up with whether that's accurate or not. And Kathy Carson or Dawn DeLego might actually know about that. So that's the update on that. Then number 10, because we're doing pretty well financially and we've got some really hardworking staff members and planning and zoning folks, I'd really like us to do an end of the year bonus to them. P&Z gets $30 a month stipend to cover their costs of using their own computers and printing or whatever they do. And then we have now 4 or 5 part-time other people, and we have a full-time employee. And so is anyone opposed to giving, say, a $50 bonus to each of them for the end of the year?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye. Thank
Aye.
you to our employees.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. And Linda, I'll coordinate that with you then, and we'll get that out. New business, it's the end of the year, start of the 2023 calendar year. So we need to do the conflict of interest forms. And I sent them out. I think Aaron sent them again. If you can get your conflict of interest form filled out and notarized, and then maybe drop them off in the office on my desk for Aaron, so that when she gets here, she can create a folder with Linda if Linda doesn't already have it, which she may already have. But conflict of interest forms we should try to do within the first couple weeks of January. Any questions about that? And even if you think you don't have any conflicts of interest, you still should fill it out and say, I have no conflict of interest or none or something, just so that we've got the documentation. Then the next is the other annual thing we need to do, which is to vote as to whether or not we're keeping Zion as our bank.
Move to keep Zions as our bank.
Second.
Any discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Ayes have it. The San Juan County Commission met today. It was Commissioner Gray Eyes and Commissioner Mary Boy's last official San Juan County Commission meetings. There were a couple of things that came to mind. I think the one thing that stood out for me, and then Aaron, I believe, was also on, and I'll see what Aaron wants to add or clarify, but they voted on the days that the commission will be meeting 2023 like we did. But as I understand that vote, there will be no virtual presence. That means if you want to attend a San Juan County Commission meeting, my understanding is that we will have to go to Monticello. I was not aware of that until Mac McDonald announced it, and I think I understood that correctly. Aaron, was that your understanding?
That was my understanding as well.
So I'm not happy. Again, we're going to be in a position where the southern part of the county gets in a position where they have to travel. So folks on the Navajo Nation who've been able to listen to the meetings and weigh in, folks up in the northern part who would have an hour's drive to Monticello, they're going to have to drive. We're going to have to drive. It's important that we monitor these while they're going on. I'm just, again, at a loss why we would do this. And Mac McDonald said, COVID, we're not beyond COVID, but the implication was we're far enough beyond it despite a high risk community numbers that we're just going to do this. So I'm going to be making a public comment on behalf of myself. I would like to also include that next meeting with them on behalf of the town council. Brant?
I think we should write a letter requesting them to keep the virtual. Ask Navajo Mountain how they feel about it. You know, that's ridiculous.
I will note that it was a 3-0 vote to approve the process or the dates in the process. Lou, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, a few years back when we were in COVID and we got that, use that money to make the YouTube and the virtual and the filming and all of that, was I'd been on some training where it had been through the state and they had a law in the legislature that they were going to require every city and every county and everybody to go online. And then it was knocked down because of the expense of it. But that's been several years ago. So it might need to be resurrected as another law.
So that's why someone should get on Utah League of Cities and Towns board, Lou.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Anne. You'd be perfect.
Jim?
Yeah, that's just straight up suppression of participation and transparency, and I think we ought to really object to that. I mean, we get a lot more participation online, and they do too. They just don't want to. Whoever is coming up with this just doesn't want to hear it. That's all there is to it, and I think it's really not good.
So they don't meet again until probably the first Tuesday of the month, which would be the 3rd. And I don't know if that was on their list or not. So I'm just thinking, I like the idea of writing a letter because we can lay it out pretty clearly and it might take longer than 3 minutes to wage an objection. So if you trust me to write a letter, you could vote on it and I could work with Aaron to get that done and submit it for their first meeting.
If I can make a motion to ask the mayor to write a letter objecting to the lack of transparency with the public virtual meetings in San Juan County.
Yeah, I will second that, but you have a raised hand in Bluff office.
Yeah, we're not taking any public comment.
Oh, okay.
Is Bluff office, is that Aaron? Oh, that's Aaron. Okay. Yeah, I can't, too many screens. Aaron.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that, I think it should be called out as well that the financial impact would be minimal, if negligible, given that they already have the equipment in place in order to do it.
That's exactly it. I don't know what the big change is. So all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so I'll get a draft going and get something up there. The other thing that came across, and this was odd. There was a resolution on the meeting. In the action section, they got 0 discussion. They just read Bruce made the motion to approve this resolution. They voted 3-0, no discussion. Consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing the San Juan County Chief Administrative Officer, so that would be Mac McDonald, to begin reorganizing the County Emergency Medical Services Department funds and assets in exploration to transition services back to the appropriate taxing entity within San Juan County Health District if deemed organizationally and financially in the best interests of the county and our citizens. All I can do is interpret that resolution from previous conversations with Mac, and I'm going to do a follow-up on that. My concern, and it's just my concern, this is not, I'm reading something into it, but my concern is that there may be an attempt to transfer the cost of EMS to the various municipalities and entities. But there was no discussion about this resolution, no explanation. They just went straight through it. So I'll be following up on that. Aaron, was there comments or things that caught your eye that I'm not talking about?
Just the only other thing in addition to that, they did approve the 2023 budget for the county. They talked about how the budget is lower because the 2022 budget had additional grants and things like that. And so in order to make to make it balance, it is going to be lower this year. They also talked about how they're going to be working on a market adjustment for employee wages. And so that could generate some additional changes to their budget in the coming year. It sounds like maybe possibly to the tune of up to $1.7 million in employee salary increases. So that could be pretty significant, but the full budget was included in the agenda minutes, and I don't believe there were any changes to it, but it was approved today.
I have a quick question. So it seems a little bit odd that a couple of these things were voted on as the last thing before 2 of them are leaving office. So maybe that's something that can be brought back up with the new board.
And that's why I think we need to check both of those things off and take a harder look at them and get more information. What's that called? Lame duck voting. You're going out of office and you quickly get a couple things through that otherwise might require some discussion.
And accountability.
All right, number 14, I'm going to turn this one over to Aaron. I have both of us. Aaron, why don't you talk about 14?
Yeah, so as I think everyone is aware, and we will keep preaching, there is a 5th seat open on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Melissa Aggie had approached me just to kind of talk through some logistics about the potential to have her fill the seat in the interim. She wanted to make it very clear that it's important to her that, we someone who would be able to fulfill the full four-year term. She felt that she wanted to continue helping in any capacity that she could, but she couldn't commit to the full 4 years. And so we had some discussion regarding, just the logistics of her chiming in and, I believe what would it would be great to have that fifth seat. You know, it helps in terms of getting a quorum and helping in voting. You have a tiebreaker. If she was to be appointed as an interim member, she would have, you know, full voting rights and all that good stuff. I know everyone appreciates the time and energy that is put in for planning and zoning and all of our boards and commissions. I did forward the council the email in which she requested to be appointed as an interim commissioner. Are there any questions about her interest, or, you know, just in that fifth seat being open in general?
Do we need a motion? I'd love to have her continue if she will. And I'll make that motion to appoint Melissa as an interim P&Z member until it's filled.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, it's unanimous. Melissa, thank you very much. One of the assurances that Aaron and I both had to give her was that we will continue to look for a permanent person. This will be reviewed every 3 or so months with Melissa as to her being able to continue and wanting to continue to do this. So anybody listening out there that's interested, the position is not filled. We're just moving along with someone who's willing to keep doing it. All right, then number 15, report on the December 7th, 2022 County Tourism Tax Meeting and on the Economic Development Meeting. Linda?
So the Tourism Tax Advisory Board met, and that board is based on our TRT taxes. The county received about 1.3 million last year in TRT. And a great deal of that is from Monument Valley. Since they're not incorporated, it goes to the county. 57% of that goes to the county into their general fund. They use it for infrastructure, roads, EMS, things that help the community. The other 4.7 goes to tourism related things. So it goes to the board or to the office, Elaine Gisler's office. It pays salaries, it pays marketing, and tourism kind of things. So these are taxes that are collected by the businesses in the county. We get TRT, so ours are separate, and as are the other towns, from the county amount. But they are collected by businesses based pretty much on tourism. So, you know, sometimes you'll hear someone say, oh, we pay the town, but they aren't actually paying the town. They're collecting the taxes for the state. So then we met I met this week with the county economic development team, our board, and we are getting the grant again that we got last year. Actually, I think it's available to counties, but it's a $200,000 grant that goes to, you submit for it, but it goes to economic development. We had in our plan set aside 175,000 of it for grants for businesses. And so, which we did last year. Last year we gave away 173,000 to businesses in the county. And so this year, same thing, but it'll be a couple thousand more. The application process, the applications will be out probably the end of January. And so we had 4 separate businesses in Bluff that applied and got funds last year. Altogether, there were about $1 million in requests. So it's every year that's increasing. So when that comes out, I will get it out to people. Plus, there'll be flyers and things. Megan McFall at USU is going to be hosting some grant writing workshops that may really benefit businesses, and then, I mean, it would benefit anyone wanting to do grants, but that will be starting in January. And finally, my term is up end of January, and I'm willing to continue.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks for doing that.
Are there any questions?
No, thank you for remaining on that committee if you're willing to do so.
Linda, I have just one clarification, just for the record. When you were talking about how much goes to the county, the first part you said 57%, but then the next time you said 4.7. So I was wondering, is it
47%.
47%? So you have 57% and 47%?
Okay, well, basically it adds up to 100,000. So 57%, and then it would be 43%.
Okay, of what comes in. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Just wanted to make sure we were clear. Thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, then Linda, you have the financial report.
Yeah, Brant approved the reconciliation of the accounts. More than half of our short-term rental fees, or short-term, rental fees have come in. So they've been coming in pretty fast. Then let's see if that's, so then I've sent out the financials. Are there any questions, and can we vote to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the ones that Linda sent out to us, Mayor.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any discussion or questions regarding payment of those? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? All right, it's unanimous. Then number 17, request for reimbursement on the lopper tools for giant cane removal. I think that's yours, Julianne.
Yeah. With the weeds, again, this riparian work and getting the noxious weeds out of town, we had that crew become available through AmeriCorps and through, wouldn't have happened with just them. They didn't have the tools or the spray ability, but Department of Natural Resources, they had that ability. So at the last minute, I needed to do 3 days with them and supervise them, but we had no tools. And so then I searched the local area, and there weren't any in Monticello or Blanding, but I searched through Grand Junction, finally found them at Lowe's. Not everybody had any. Well, most of them did not have any, but I did find enough tools to keep that size of a team working. So there were 3 loppers. There's 2 of one kind and 1 of another kind. The receipt that I sent looks like she put on a couple of our things. She said, we just need to make sure we total it up. It was like, what, $70 maybe. Figure the tax on it. I didn't do that. I didn't see it was a combo receipt, but of course I'm just asking for the tools. And if the town wants to buy the tools, then we can put them in the shed or wherever they belong. And then if we get another crew, we can have them available again. So it just seemed like a good expense for the town to start the tool collection. I did loan out our Maddoxes. They're the kind of like a Pulaski. They've got a hoe on one end and an axe on the other, but they're kind of axe that you can chop into the ground. So they used those of mine. And then we used our own chipper Also didn't charge for that. Used it for 2 hours attempting to chip. So that's going to be not a sustainable way to do that, but might be another option. We're looking into some other options, but that was also a loan amount. But I would just soon the town have some clippers to continue this project, and that's why I asked for reimbursement. I didn't intend to have an agenda item, but I thought I'd fill in with sort of an update on the weed control at the same time.
So what is, Grant?
I think we should do this, and I'll make a motion to pay for those out of our general fund.
Second.
So Lou, what is the total amount of reimbursement that you're requesting?
Well, let's look and see at that receipt.
Yeah, I was only able to look at one part of the receipt. It didn't come through on my computer for some reason.
Yeah, so the bigger loppers are $22.98, and the other two are $28.98 for a total of $57.96. So we need $22.98 and $57.96, and then the tax on that, it's probably roughly 7%. So, let's see.
$90 ought to do it.
Yeah, it's 99.7. No, let's see, 70, 79. Yeah, about 85. It looks like.
So normally, when a receipt like this comes to me, it's been through kind of an approval ahead of time. And so, because we did have one other receipt that came in to be reimbursed, and it was printing, and I already knew about it. I knew it had been approved by Anne, so I just paid it. So because this one, all I knew is that Anne suggested borrowing tools. I didn't automatically pay it.
No, that's fine. You can wait till the next round. But the problem that I have borrowing somebody's tools is, how do I get a replacement when they break them? They broke 2 of their own shovels. They didn't break any of these tools. But it's what happens when you loan stuff. That's why we don't let anybody use like the chipper. They couldn't use it anyway because they were not approved for that kind of hazard. But no, that's fine. It's if it is less than $100, I figured it could just get sent through the system. Like, I don't think we take every credit card bill and say, did we approve these paper clips at the agenda? I think our agendas needs to be spent on time on more sufficient topics. But anyway, that's why it's on there. I didn't intend to take up agenda time, but it seems like a good thing for the town to start collecting a few tools like that, especially if we're going to finish this project or help any of the residents anytime in the future.
So all in favor say aye.
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 And I'll abstain since I'm requesting.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, I need to know where they go.
They will go into the shed. And Brant, I have your tools driving them around in my car. So I have yours from AmeriCorps. So they go in the shed, Lou.
I don't have a key to the shed.
I don't either. Why don't you just get them into the community center, and then I'll dig the key out of the key box and put them in the shed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because none of us carry around a key to the shed. It's in the key box, I think.
Okay, well, I can get the key out of the key box if it's the shed that I'm thinking of. It's the one at the community center.
Right.
Okay, I can do that. All right, well, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
That work was really good to get done. All right, then moving to number 18, discussion and vote on first the audio visual equipment and a printer and scanner for the office. Erin?
And I hate to jump back in here, but I just did forget to say that we've also the AmeriCorps mapped all of the cane in town. So everybody's patch of cane is on the radar. So keep it in mind. If you want help, just keep that in mind of being able to do that in the future when we get another crew. So sorry for that last delay, but
that's okay. Awesome. And I think I got that last consent over to you via Adam. Okay. Thank you. All right. Then the audio visual equipment and printer scanner, Erin.
Yeah, so I'll start with the printer. So we had briefly discussed that during, I think it was just this prior meeting. But essentially the main printer at the office is kind of on the fritz. So I would recommend that we purchase a laser printer. It is a higher investment up front, but should take less toner over time. I found an HP option for approximately $550. There's another option, a Xerox option that I sent links to as well, but I know that we're all very familiar with HP. So that would be $550 before tax, and that includes the first round of ink or toner for it as well. I just didn't know if the council would prefer that we go with ink versus laser. Again, this, I know it was kind of on the high end of what I had quoted last time. So
I'm feeling like Christmas, Aaron. I'm feeling like, what's that other? I'm getting ready to make a motion here, girl.
no, so that's the first one, and I do want to call out that I was looking for a more business model as opposed to like a home model. So Kathy's able to do scanning much more easily. We're able to make copies, and it's the higher. Essentially, it's a higher option that is more applicable for a business as opposed to a home. So that's the first one.
All right. Do you want them separate or together, Mayor?
I don't care.
All right. I want to make a motion that we buy that better printer that Aaron's designated.
The laser.
HP.
Yeah. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. All right, the audio visual equipment.
All right. So in a meeting way long ago, and my sincerest apologies for dropping off the face of the earth on this one, we had talked about the council voted to not rent out any of the, I'm going to call it fancy equipment that was installed by NetForce for a various numbers of reasons. But I did bring up that the projector that is currently being rented out is a pretty old model. And by that, I mean, I had a gentleman come in, he couldn't even connect to it. So I had to loan him my computer, which is, yeah. So I looked at projectors in order to have something that shows up in an auditorium and is good. We're looking at something probably between $700 to $1,300, $1,400, $1,500. So I sent over a couple options. All of these would have a high enough lumen count that I think that they would be appropriate to show up. I do think that the council would maybe want to consider increasing the fees for audiovisual. I found like an actual rental company, they charge, upwards of like $115 a day to rent out projectors and projector screens and things like that. So, in looking at, we're not making money, but in order to cover the costs, the council might consider increasing, if you all are interested in obtaining a projector that is easier to use. It has the sound system built into it for presentations and things like that. If you were to look at something in the $700 to $800 range, projecting that the asset would depreciate in value approximately 20% each year for 5 years, then you could maybe increase your rate to like $35 a day to rent out this kind of thing. So I don't know if you want to just vote on the print or vote on it or not.
I would make a motion to purchase the middle model. It's about $857, something like that. It's got substantially more power for the sound, and it'll also take an RCA mic. It's a little more versatile, and it's got the same pixels as the $1,300 model. So I think you're getting more. It's a much more sturdy machine. Yeah.
I was going to say, should we go ahead and put a fee on it, $50 a day for rental, and go ahead and I'll second that motion.
How much?
$50 a day.
That sound good to everybody?
What do we charge now?
We currently charge $25.
Okay.
Or at least that's what's on the contracts.
Well, they're getting a really good machine when they're with the one I'm moving on.
Louis?
Yes, so I'll move that $50 then, and I guess Brant's motion covers that.
Okay,
Second.
Luann?
Yeah, so I just have a question of, is it something that we need as a town, or is it just something that we're trying to make more rentals at the community center, or like, I can just see it depreciating away and not getting used, but is there actually some use that warrants it, and do we need it to, I mean, I haven't seen it used.
So I would say, at least in my time here, it definitely does get used, and we have groups that come back annually who use it. So the pilots, when they come, they've used it. Friends of Cedar Mesa, Greater Bears Ears Partnership, they definitely use it. And we have, this kind of has come to a head because we have another group asking to use audiovisual equipment. So it does get used, and I think either you would keep your current equipment and not charge anything, because I don't think it's worth it based in its current condition and how old it is, or we update it and have this available. I do think it's something to be considered given our remote location, and having it as a resource for folks to use when they're here.
Okay, yeah, and if it's getting used, I think it is a nice thing, because obviously there's not many rental places around, but we also then need to be able to make sure we've got the battery, or not the batteries, but the bulbs or whatever it takes. When it breaks down, they're going to be looking for us. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn between having them provide their own and just not having any audiovisual equipment with the center. But if we need them for our meetings or something, then maybe it makes more sense.
To me, it's kind of are we going to rent out the community center or not? And if we're not going to offer things that other buildings or other areas offer, then I'd say let's not rent the community center at all.
So they all use it when they rent it? Everybody
No.
uses the audio visual?
No, but
Only if they rent it.
they don't all use the chairs or the tables. I mean, this is like a package. And if we need to have a longer discussion about this, we can just move this off and put this in the work session.
No, it sounds fine if it's getting use. I'm just saying that technical stuff tends to break down, and it tends to take somebody that knows how to run it and show somebody how to run it and that kind of thing. So as long as we've got that covered, I'm fine.
So we have a motion on the table for purchase of the one that's in the range of $857.
Yeah.
And Jim and Brant made the motions and seconded it, amending it to include $50 for the rental a day. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Then, when we were using Fire Mesa Kitchen for the AmeriCorps going away party dinner, we don't really have any towels, any hand towels, hot pads, scrubbers. They've all either not been there or disappeared. I think we should, and as I look at this, I'm thinking, I know that when I was talking with the community center manager and maybe with Aaron, that we should probably do an inventory. So I'd like to pull this into a different meeting and get an inventory of what we do have and what we don't have, and kind of look at updating things like towels and whatever, along with talking about the microwave. So since this was pretty much Linda and me, Linda, are you okay with just pulling this out and getting that inventory done?
I think that's a good idea. And I should have been aware of this before, but I was really shocked there was no microwave in there. We had some things that were simple to heat and had to, use pots and pans, and which is, doable, but I think for what we're charging, it'd be good to have a microwave.
So I'll talk with the community center manager and Aaron about who's the most appropriate person to do a quick inventory and see what we're short on. Then Aaron had requested a mini fridge for the community center. But she's not alone on that. I think that having a mini fridge and maybe a mini microwave, if we don't put one in Fire Mesa Kitchen, is a good idea, just so that when people are here working, they have a way to heat up food or cool down drinks or whatever.
Do you need a motion, Mayor?
Yes, for the mini fridge, yes.
And the microwave too?
I think
All right,
let's wait and see what we decide on the microwave for the Fire Mesa Kitchen.
I'll make a motion. We purchase a mini fridge for our offices.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I'm,
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Aaron, if you want to take a look around and let us know what looks good, that would be
I
great.
appreciate it. It does feel like Christmas, and I do appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to spending, a lot of time at the community center in those offices, and look forward to having like regular office hours in the very near future. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Aaron, you ought to look at those that have the separate freezer to the refrigerator. They're a lot better units.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Luann.
So is there any other, moving to number 19? Then if there's
I would-
no, go ahead.
I would make a motion to adjourn this meeting and move into the executive session, if that's the kind of motion you need.
Second.
So the way this would work is we will move to the executive session and adjourn from there and not come back into this meeting because we'll adjourn in the executive session.
Oh, okay. So my motion is just to move into the executive session
And then to adjourn this meeting
And-
at the conclusion.
and to it, yeah.
Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It is 7:23. We're going to move into the executive session and then adjourn after that. So we will not be coming back into this. We will be going into a separate session and close this one off.